Moon Letter, Astrological Podcast.
Chariklo and the Journey to Transcendence by Ben Belinsky. Chariklo is an asteroid, one of a type of minor planets known as centaurs. Her orbit, like the orbits of the other centaurs, is eccentric, following an elliptical path, taking her out as far as Uranus, and bringing her in to graze the orbit of Saturn. In addition, her orbit is inclined at more than 23 degrees to the plane of the ecliptic, taking her far above and far below the orbits of the other planets in her 63 years of orbit round the Sun. She was the fifth centaur to be discovered in 1997, after Chiron, Pholus, Nessus, and Asbolus. Some say that the centaurs originate in the Kuiper belt, a zone of asteroids and dwarf planets out beyond Neptune. Others say that they are objects from deep space, rogue planets that broke free of the gravity of other stars and travelled across interstellar space until they were drawn by the gravitational pull of our Sun and its planets to become part of our solar system. Either way, they are strangers, visitors, bringing an energy of the beyond that we as astrologers are only just beginning to become aware of and understand. According to the mythologies that have come down to us, Chariklo is a nymph, the daughter of Apollo. In her story, she was the wife of Chiron and foster mother to the many heroes that Chiron educated and mentored. These included warriors of the Trojan Wars, such as Achilles and Ajax, Asclepius, the founder of medicine, Perseus, the hero who beheaded the Medusa, Theseus, slayer of the Minotaur, and Jason, leader of the Argonauts. For astrologers, Chariklo belongs to the family of centaurs, sharing many of the characteristics of that of her husband. In her astrological influence, we can feel the same raw, uninterpreted world of ancient myth that Chiron takes us into. Each centaur has a myth, a key event in their narrative that defines them. The astrological influence of a centaur will take us into its myth, a potential that we act out or a particular potency that we embody. For Chiron, it's the myth of the wounded healer. For Pholus, it's the guardianship of the wine that was the sacred legacy of the centaurs and whose uncorking led to a riot. For Nessus, it was the trick he played that led to the death of the hero Hercules. For Asbolus, it was his skills as an augur and seer. In the words of Joseph Campbell, author of The Hero with 1,000 Faces, a myth is something that has never happened but is happening all the time. Myths are important psychologically because they give meaning to our lives. The classic example of this is the myth of the hero. We live this myth when we give our life to something bigger than who we are, when we face challenges that enable us to find deeper powers within ourselves. As the wife of the centaur Chiron, Chariklo cared for her husband after he took a hit from one of Hercules' poisoned arrows, leaving him wounded and in agony, but as an immortal, unable to die. This is the terrible irony of Chiron, the master healer who was unable to heal himself. As his wife and partner, all Chariklo could do was to care for him, enduring the situation, not knowing how long it would last. Here is the story from her side. She sat with him, sang to him, washed and dressed the wound that would never heal, the poison coursing through his body from the arrow that struck him, listening to him begging for an end to his pain. Clean the wound, change the dressing, day after unbearable day, knowing of nothing that could heal him, nothing that could save him, clinging to existence, unable to die. This can't go on, but it goes on. His dry lips gasping for air or spitting bile, his limbs twitching in torment, and his eyes, unspeaking eyes, looking but not at her. She cleans the wound, changes the dressing, providing what comfort she could until exhaustion overtakes her and she falls into an uneasy sleep. Ancient faces coming at her, suffocating her with their presences, too tired to say the prayer to send them back. Another day, and still death doesn't come, begging and praying in the silence, calling on the heroes and demigods to intercede for him, he who was their teacher, their mentor, their guide to life. Ask the gods to heal him, or if there is no healing, to allow him death. Chariklo's story has come down to us in fragments, but from these we can reconstruct her inner journey, what you would call her process. We can find parallels to her with stories from other times, or from our own time. We can speak of the solace or respite that she found. We can see her as a priestess, as temple mother. We can relate her to the countless women and men who have lived similar stories, caring for the living or the dying, how by staying with the pain and enduring it, it is transmuted into a connection with the divine. This is the possibility that Chariklo allows us as she leads us to a sacred space within ourselves, to create or discover a place in our everyday lives where we can re-energize and become whole. And by the way, eventually the gods allowed Prometheus to exchange his mortality for Chiron's immortality, allowing Chiron to die, placing him in the sky as the constellation Centaurus. Chariklo shares Chiron's destiny, but she is more than a mere helpmeet. In her journey from wife to widow, she goes through her own process, transforming the tragedy of her situation into a spiritual connection. In the astrological portraits we share in the book, Chariklo and the Journey to Transcendence, each individual has gone through a process of finding or creating a sacred inner space which is beyond anything that the world may throw at them. This is an extract from the e-book Chariklo and the Journey to Transcendence by Ben Belinsky. More information is available on the Moonletter website, moonletter.co.uk.
And for more astrological and spiritual musings, check out moonletter.co.uk.